We have those in the camp, right? That I'm trying not to get mad. We have those within the camp that know what the truth is. But now it seems as other things are starting to influence how they're thinking, or that's how it appears. That's how it appears. And of course, Z, you know more than me. Natch, you know more than me, right? A lot more than me. But the thing is I could sense your frustration, Z, and Natch, I could sense your inquiry behind the whole thing. And now it's starting to boil into a frustration because I'm getting a mixture of both of those. And I didn't have to deal with the person in question like you did, Z. But when you did, like, you took the time. And my thing is, I'm not even in your shoes. I don't even think I could get to my audience how frustrated and how pissed you were just listening. You were like, I took this much time to break this whole effing show down. And I'm like, damn, he took that much time to break the show down. And little by little, you explained the show that he had with Bro Sanchez. And I love Bro Sanchez's show, right? And just you breaking it down, I'm like, the dude is pissed and frustrated, but you're clear of mind because you did it in a systematic fashion. And so a lot of people are, they're coming out and they got upset with how you did it. But I'm like, no. I said, no. This is what we need. This is a good thing, because what separates us from those of the globe is that the globe, everything bad that we mentioned with the lies, and it seems to fall in line with a group of people that are deceitful, that are lying, and that want to just hide things from us and just keep us from being our better selves. And anytime I see those globe folks, they fall in line with that type of thinking and with those types of people. The only difference is they don't know what the hell they're doing. Those people know what the truth is. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But when I see I'm going to call them one of our own, just shift and do this to us, Will Duffy, because we're going to talk about Will for a second, where Will Duffy's like, Jeran's not a bad dude. He's not a bad dude. He's actually one of the more level-headed of the flat earthers. And I'm like,
right, because
really?
he agrees with them. Because he agrees with where they are.
Yeah, I'm like, really? So he's level-headed, so we're full of shit. That's what you're saying. Yeah. So we're liars. So everything we're saying is lies. And then you got all these people in, I'm not even going to name his damn channel, but you know who it is. You got everybody in his camp saying, yeah, he's one of the better ones. I actually like him. He's got his own line of clothing. And just all the crap that you don't want to hear, right?
And I just wanted to address a few things that you said. Regarding me and Mr. Jiren, Mr. Jeran Campanella. Firstly, Vlad, I was, brought into this. Now, Jiren and I interviewed him on my show one time. Okay. That was the limit of me ever talking to him. And then we exchanged through a mutual friend, cell phone numbers. So there was a few texts back and forth, maybe months. This is months and months ago, man. Mm-hmm. Almost a year at this point, probably. And you can find it on my channel. You can just go to my channel under my Flat Earth playlist, and what's my Level Earth playlist now. And you just look for Jiren and you'll find it. So that was my experience with Jiren. But, obviously everybody knows Jiren if you've been around the community. He brought me into this. I was on Notch's show. Notch asked me a very simple question regarding the final experiment. I gave a very diplomatic answer, but I was honest. I woke up the next day. No, it was the following day, 2 days later, and Jiren had done a 5-hour stream about me entitled, Are You Really Zetetic? Right? And he was just going on saying a bunch of nonsense. So right then, we were then engaged, because he decided to make an issue out of it, because everybody's talking about the final experiment, but he had to make me the focal point, which I have my theories on why he did that. So after that, I said, okay, well, why don't you and I talk? So that's when he brought me on his show. And if you remember from the video that you referenced of mine, I had some clips in there where we had our debate, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And that's what kicked it off there, and he was on Bro Sanchez the day before. So it's not like I just decided to make myself like the lightning rod of this whole topic. It's just for whatever reason, the way the stars aligned, I was brought into it. And I'm the type of person where I'm not going to step back, because I know where I stand. I know what I accept about this reality, and I know what my thoughts regarding Jiren are. And I'm not the type of person to shy away from that. So that's kind of how we went into this. And that's what led me to finally go through all of his recent content and say, what is he really saying? So if I'm going to be out here having conversations like this, I want to know what he's really saying, not just here and there. And that's when I really did a deep dive into his content. And that's when I really started seeing what's going on with Jiren, in my opinion, where I actually think he's ready to do his globe flip and sell us all out, which Simon Dan, or this guy we're looking at, agrees with me because he thinks Jiren's going to flip to the globe. Jiren's, to reference what you said, Jiren is being embraced by the globe community over and over again. They're coming to my channel. They're big up in Jiren. They're all saying how reasonable he is. Well, it's because he's a globie. He's talking just like a globie at this point. Now, I have my theories, and I'll give it now, then we could play this. Some people want to say the easy thing. Jiren's a Jesuit. He was a plant from the beginning. I find that hard to believe, although I don't rule that out. My take on Jiren is, how you and I just talked about how we had to come to an understanding of a new paradigm where we embraced consciousness and spirituality, and we really incorporated that into our beingness to understand what this reality. I don't think Jiren ever did that. See? And judging by the words, the things that he's said through the years regarding spirituality and a different type of spiritual doctrine, I think he evidences that, is that he never really left his globey mindset behind. So that's why I think he was so intent on building a model and intellectualizing a model in his arrogant mind. Now that he built the model, and the model's threatened, my theory is he's too egoic and arrogant to simply say, maybe I was wrong for 5 years. Maybe it was wrong of me to reject people who years and years and years ago pointed out the flaws in the model, whatever you want to think about it. Maybe I was a gatekeeper. Maybe I'm self-interested. See, I think somebody like Jiren is so egotistical that he would just rather say, okay, well, like you said earlier, he knows how periscopes work. I've heard Jiren explain, the properties of the level horizontal topographical plane of this earth multiple times. The fact that he's saying the things that he's saying now, that's the fishy part, because it's not like he forgot all those things to say the simplistic things that he's saying now. And that's what I think the duplicitous part about Jiren is. And that's why I'm so vocal about calling him out, is because I think he's doing this for a self-interested reason. Because just like you said, once the globies embrace him, which they will, his financial situation changes basically overnight. Because if you look at this video that Notch is about to play, the man whose channel, the Simon Dan, has hundreds of thousands of subscribers. This video is on its way to 100,000 views. I'm sure he's got a bunch of channel members. Every anti-flat earther that comes on that we could name, whether it's Fight the Flat Earth, Simon Dan, Dave McKeegan, they all make a significant financial windfall from their endeavor here, where there are maybe 1 or 2 or 3 flat earthers that can eke out a living doing this. And Jiren's the primary example of this.
Bro Sanchez, like I mentioned to the family earlier last week, when I saw him lose composure, when he was like, "Oh my God, you sound like a glober." When he said that, I was like, "It's a wrap." And then Bro Sanchez was like, "I don't know, Jiren, but right now you kind of sound like a Shill to me, and that's what it is. And so we just going to keep it moving from here." You know what I'm saying? So when I heard Bro Sanchez say that, I was like, he said it matter-of-factly. Bro Sanchez he didn't pussyfoot. He didn't, well, maybe, Jiren, you're just not seeing it. And then it's not, no, you a Shill. And
right.
we're going to treat you as such from this point on. That's
until he
what it
comes
is.
correct. Until
Yes.
and unless he comes correct. And he's going to have to come correct real strong, you know. And this
Mhm.
goes to all the apologists out there, which are the real ones that I want to hear my words and why I keep coming on talking about this. To the apologists, you're digging yourself deeper and deeper. Look, maybe the three of us here are just maybe a little bit more in touch with our discernment, or maybe we're a little bit more emotionally disconnected than some of his hangers on. Maybe they just need more time. But there's some big name people right now that to me are going to have to really, really I put it this way. They're under scrutiny in my book. Okay. For whatever that matters, it matters to me, but they're under scrutiny right now. And again, we don't have to mention names, but they're the ones at this point that really have to make a decision about how they're going to behave moving forward, because I suspect that there's people that are still engaging with him and his channel that understand the things that we're saying, but maybe don't have the courage at this point, or the emotional fortitude to make the move, to come out, to even to say something, or just to distance themselves. But anybody, if your allegiance with Jiren at this point, make no mistake about it, he has nowhere to go from here. Unless he sees that sunset, he's not a flat earther anymore. He's made that very, very, very clear. So there's not many options. So it's going to be sooner or later. And look, you're looking clownish at this point, which is fine. Look, everybody plays the fool sometimes. But what side do you want to be on when the dust settles? You know, do you want it? Because your word and your reputation is all you have in this life. And it's especially all you have here online. There's nothing else besides your words, your energy, and your presentation. So where are we going to go here? What are you in this for? Look, none of us are going to be rich doing this. And if you're going to get rich talking truth, it's going to take years and years and years to become like a Bro Sanchez who can come on here, actually speak truth, and actually have enough people that could probably give him a livelihood. Other than that, this is not going to be a get rich quick overnight. As smart as you may be, and as intellectual, and as, you know, the glowing personalities you may have, you're not going to come on here and get rich with the truth. And if you are, it's going to take you a long time. So what are you in this for? What are your motives? And how do you want to be remembered at this point? And I'm not going to forget where you were when this went down, this monumental time in this community's history, which is the biggest time in FE since it first popped online in 2015. There's been no bigger time than right now, because as we're about to see in this video, if Notch plays the part, Will Duffy and the Globers especially are looking to make this a big deal in the worldwide media. Don't think this is just in our little cubicle, everybody. And I think the three of us here are seeing this maybe a little bit sooner than the rest of the people. We know the impact of this. This is going to be way bigger than Behind the Curve. If they drag Jeran and Austin down there, first of all, they're not going to let them see the setting sun. They're just not going to let them do it. So again, what are the options here? This is going to go worldwide when this happens. All right. They're going to do everything they can to discredit the flat earth community. It doesn't discredit the earth is what it is. That's not going to change. But people's perception, people's ability to come to this truth is going to be severely impaired by this mockumentary that they're all planning. And that's the part that makes me so passionate about what Jeran's doing. When it comes to Witsit, I've made my feelings known about it, okay? I don't have to say it again here. I'm cutting Witsit a little bit more slack. One, because of his youth. And two, because of his, for whatever reason, his allegiance to Jiren. But that slack's going to get shorter and shorter and shorter. And say what you want. You all have big numbers. The three people you see up here, we're just getting started. And I've been saying this for a while. I'm just getting warmed up. So this is a long game, everybody. So just think about where you want to be when the dust settles in this whole thing.
You know, just seeing Will Duffy with TFE and the final experiment, this is how you know. They're getting in everybody's mind. be ready because this is going to drop as soon as it happens. Soon as it happens, it's going to be a Netflix special. The Final Experiments, memoirs of the Final Experiment, this one and that one. They probably got stickers, coasters, beer mugs, coffee mugs, baby bibs, you name it. All the swag named after this movie, they're getting in people's minds. Look at, hey, we're getting ready to present to you how foolish these flat earthers are. And with all their bravado and their confidence,
you know, there's a lot of flat earthers out there who are ethically not nice people. Jeran has always come across, although he's had his dig every now and again at me for things and stuff, which is fine, but I've always considered him to be someone who wouldn't be like that, you know. And in his defense, he's stuck up for the right thing there, isn't he?
Yeah, he also deserves credit for being the one who has defended the globe model the best through this whole final experiment, and also explained why this doesn't work on a flat earth. So he's been the most consistently honest about the position he's held this entire time, now that we're actually going to go to Antarctica.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're saying Jiren is buying into our false dichotomy final experiment. He appears to be the only flat earther who's doing so, which again, such a coincidence that he's one of the two guys, one of the three people that's going. He's the only flat earther I heard take his position. Now, there might be people behind the scenes that actually think that a 24-hour sun could somehow make oceans curve, like Jiren said multiple times. But I have yet to find another flat earther to buy into the false binary besides Jiren. So, yeah, of course they're going to be praising him now because he's buying in to this completely, you know, false choice that's being presented. So, yeah, of course they're going to praise him.
Oh, yeah. And it sucks because, you know, man, and it's easy. I could see exactly what you were saying earlier, touching on that, the loyalty that a lot of people have with Jiren, right? And his channel, and just being able to make it to, I guess when he has his speakers corner on those Thursdays, the first Thursday of the month or something like that, where people get to call in and he has his favorites. They've already established a close relationship with him. And I get it, man. Sometimes you get close with people. Sometimes you get loyal. But what are you going to be more loyal to? The truth, integrity, or just somebody that, and I'm not gonna just discount somebody's relationship with a person. I don't know how close and how strong that bond is. I'll never know. But like, you got to think, because now what you mentioned, where Jiren is starting to turn coat, those people that he's loyal with, they just might follow him into the lake of fire like he's the Pied Piper. You know what I'm saying? And so they're like, well, maybe he might have a point. As a Home Depot flat earth don't seem like such a bad idea after all. And I'm like, are you guys out of your mind? You have to understand, I don't have a problem with Jiren. I have a problem with what Jiren is doing within the community. I have a problem with Jiren discussing what he's discussing in such a fashion that he's burning bridges with people in the community. There's other issues that I'm not even going to talk about that maybe you want to address. See, I don't even want to go there with it.
You know, that's even besides the point, man. That's like that's the cherry on top of this whole shit, you know, Sunday, is that part of it. It's like on top of it is his moral shortcomings, you know?
Exactly.
That's the part, it's like the extra thing. And it's like, okay, that's what put me over the edge. I'm like, why are we tolerating this dude anymore? We need to speak up. Yep. You know, and the people that are saying, you know, again, the Jeran apologists, like I call them, they're going to see in a couple of months. They're just going to be slow to come around to it. But I agree with you that there's going to be a significant part of his following that's going to go over the bridge right with him, man. They're going to just follow whatever he says. They want to be there for reefer roulette, and they want to be there just for the Jiren experience, and they're just going to buy whatever bullshit that he's selling. Yep. But his hangers on, like the content creators that are just basically riding his coattails, they're not going to go along with Jiren. He's going to leave them all in the dust, and they're all going to be looking real funny in a couple months when all this goes down. They're looking real funny now, you know, but they're going to look real funny because he has no allegiance to them. Jiren's about himself. He has shown that. And the thing about, like you said, the way he's not engaging in conversation. When I went on his show, he was dismissive to me from the beginning. Not only as people who follow me can attest to, when I addressed the final experiment, it was very respectful. I gave my opinion about it. He did a 5-hour diatribe stream on me where he went on and on. Okay. Then when I contacted him to say, hey, let's, schedule a stream, let's talk about this live. He was dismissive. He was arrogant with me, through text. He titled the stream I was on, "How Can a Flat Earther Believe in a 24-Hour Sun?" So right there, dissing me off the bat. And anybody could watch the stream that I did with him, where he just insulted me the whole time because I disagreed with him on a topic. He was very insulting to me. But this is what Jiren does. He insults people. He gaslights the entire community. And anybody who tries to present information that goes against the narrative of the gatekeepers, which I call the Flat Earth Mafia, they basically gaslight everybody. They smear them, and they basically try to get them pushed out of the community, because people have come forward to both Nachiketa and myself and told us their stories. They said, hey, in 2018, I told Jeran that there's issues with his simplistic model that he has, but no, they just wanted to push the pizza pan with the circling sun and the AE map. And I'm not against the AE map. I'm not even against the circling sun, but there's so many complexities that go into these two things. Okay. Yes, the AE map appears to be the most accurate map that we have. It works for navigation. The circling sun appears to be the most accurate representation of the heavens, with the circling heavens with the stars, the moon, everything. That appears to be a sound, let's say, conception of this world. But that doesn't make it de facto reality, especially when there's evidence that debunks it. When these various bits of evidence have been pointed out to these gatekeepers, with Jiren being amongst the most with the subscribers, they were rejected. They wouldn't address it. They wouldn't have the conversation because it went against their narrative. They were making money off the narrative. You don't want people to know that there's issues with the circling sun between Cancer and Capricorn throughout the year. You don't want to know. They didn't want to present the sun calculation data and the celestial data that contraindicated that model to their followers, because it would have threatened their power and the hold they have. So year by year, they entrenched a model. They did their own form of indoctrination and gatekeeping with the community. Now people are emotionally invested in it. So when they have people like me and Nachiketa come on and say, whoa, 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 when you are in the far south, whether it's South America, Australia, or South Africa, New Zealand, there's issues with the way the sun works. Okay, the celestial data contraindicates their simplistic model, just like a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, in the Antarctic summer, contraindicates their simplistic model. So instead of just questioning the model, instead of just evaluating other models, instead of adjusting their model, people like Jiren fall into the false binary and say, well, if it's not the model, if it's not the way I think it is, if it's not the way I've said for 9 years, well, I'm going to reject the entire concept of a level horizontal topographical plane and say that an impossible globe could exist. And now that's what we're picking up on, because now he's starting to say, well, yeah, I know that we debunked boats going over the curvature in the horizon, but eventually they do go over, they do disappear bottom up. When he made that argument, which I pointed out, I said, well, yeah. And then Bro Sanchez was like, no, okay, yeah, but once your binoculars, once it leaves your view, you get something else. Get your P900 out, and then it comes back. And then he said, well, eventually it leaves. He gave a globe argument. Now, he knows better. He knows that the radius value is falsified once you say that there's no geographic horizon at 3 miles. He knows that debunks the radius. He understands that. Or like when he started to basically give the Glober argument of refraction. When we say, look, you can see Peak Gaspard in the Alps from 275 miles away. And there's some people that say you can see mountains 700 miles away in the Alps. Or what about the idea that if you are in a very high altitude airplane, like these SR-71s that go like 90,000 feet above sea level, they can see like geographic features like 900 to 1,000 miles away, like Baja California or the Rockies or the Pacific Ocean. And people say, oh, well, you're so high. You're 90,000 feet. No. Do the math. That's the biggest globe destroyer, is because as you go into distance, it's basically it's non-linear, because you're squaring it.
Yep.
But as you're going up in altitude, that is a linear growth. So just because you have to go 80 or 90,000 feet above sea level to see something 1,000 miles away, do the math on that. That blows the globe away more than a mountain 275 miles away from land or anything else. Jeran knows that, but he starts to then make the argument about refraction. Well, the Globers say it's refraction. We say it's just you're seeing the actual object. So, it could be either or. No, it can't be either or. Refraction doesn't work like that. And the fact that Jeran is making those globe arguments now is highly suspicious.
Yes.
Because he knows better. And that's why I'm so comfortable calling him a shill, is because of those things. Is because he actively understands that he's arguing against demonstrable reality, a reality that he's researched for years and years. And that's why I call him a shill. So, this is sort of where I am with Jeran. And again, to the apologists, you should know better. But I'm going to give people the benefit of the doubt, man. That's why I'm not going off on people. I'm not bringing people's names up for the most part, although I have. But I'm not going in on them because they need to have a chance to say, okay, when Jeran becomes more entrenched, we have to give them room and not squash them out. We have to give them room and basically take the high road. And that's my position moving forward.
I feel you on that. Now, we can't forget how we were fucking idiots, because if we believed that the earth was still flat if there was a 24-hour sun. I remember that. And I remember that when he said that on his channel, that if we see the sun doing something for 24 hours, hanging out there above Antarctica, right? That we're idiots if we still believe that the earth is flat. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Like, you got to give it some time. Like, reevaluate some things. Sure. Look at Gleason's AE map, Urbano Monti's map again. Sure. I have no problem with reevaluating a bunch of things. But we're idiots. Like, so then I'm like confused. I'm like, did I just hear Jeran say that? Like, he doesn't mean it. I don't think he really gets it. Nah, he's just playing around. Like, so then does this mean that the earth is now going to curve up? Does this now mean that, we're going to start to feel movement, right? All the movements that they're talking about, we're going to start to feel all these things. It's not going to change anything, right? And so this is why I was like, he needs a chance to explain himself.
Vlad, that's why I went so in depth. That's why I went through like 50 some hours of his content, because I was like you. I was trying to give him the benefit of the doubt, man. Yeah. But once I had my my debate with him on his channel, that's when I knew, because I was face to face with him. You know what I mean? I was interacting with him. But I said, okay, I got to be sure. That's why I went so into his content for like all those things, because I had to make sure. And then once I did that, and that's why I presented it, and it's like 4 hours long, because I had to show that it wasn't a fluke. He didn't just say, because some people, they're like, oh, remember when you said that one thing once? And you're like, yeah, I said one thing 2 years ago and you haven't let it go. And I retracted. I said, it wasn't, this isn't the situation with Jeran, everybody. Jeran doubled and tripled and quadrupled down on multiple platforms, to Nachiketa, to myself, to Bro Sanchez, to Dave Weiss himself, his buddy, Dave Weiss. Right to his face said the earth cannot be flat if I see a 24-hour sun. So it's beyond that. It's beyond that part now.
Yeah, because even Dave Weiss was like, yeah, Jeran, do you actually want to take any of that back? Because Jeran, can I say something? Jeran, can I say something? And I was like, yeah, man, can he say something? Because right now he's trying to save your ass, bro.
Right.
You might need to listen. And I could see why David Weiss is doing what he's doing, and they have such a good working relationship. They're like freaking frack, Jack and Jill, right? They work well with one. So to see that relationship kind of fizzle online in real time, it's kind of a shame. So he's, in a sense, like he's trying to save him and give him a way out, but it's
like
like
an out. Right. And he just doubled down right into it. Exactly. That's what I thought too. It was like, all right, his buddy came on and was like, I'm going to give you an out here. And Jiren said, no, I'm going head on into this. F you, Dave. F you, everybody. I'm doing this for me. Because make no mistake about it. And, you know, I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Once Jiren does his official globe flip, his life is going to change. It's going to be a very different life for him. Because he then becomes, you know, the flat earther who saw the light. He then becomes the one person who they can trot out in front of everybody, and they'll say he was the #1 flat earther. They're going to claim it. Look, he had 160,000 subscribers. He was Jiren. He's the one that everybody voted to go on this final experiment. And once he saw with his own eyes, he woke up from his delusion, his flat earth delusion, and they're going to trot him out, and that's going to be very profitable for him. So make no mistake about it. There's significant consequences that are going to go along with this. You know, immediately he gets embraced by all the anti-flat earthers, who he's been very cozy with, by the way. Very interesting that he's had all these debates on where he just sits there silently and just lets, you know, like, oh, it's just equal. Like he's doing now. Oh, well, you know, we say, you know, we can see the object and they say refraction. So that basically balances out. Like his whole narrative now is flat earth and the globe are basically equally valid. And this is the one thing that's going to show, oh no, it's the globe all along. See, this is the narrative that he's playing along, when the reality is the globe is simply impossible. Just because they give us a thing called gravity and they give us a thing called refraction and they fake a moon landing and NASA fake space doesn't give those things any legitimacy. The globe theory never got off the ground. Okay, because it's impossible from the jump, right? So you can't go with the simplistic argument, you know, where you say, well, they're equally valid because both sides give an answer, and this is the one thing that the flat earthers can't give an answer for. That's fallacious from its foundation. If one has an idea of mystery, right, when we don't really know what the sky is, yes, we can observe things about the sky, okay? We can have data. We can take multiple data points around with our observations, but that's really it. And then we can make certain inferences. We can conjecture things, but there's nothing we could really know about the sky. Once you get out of your bookends, right, and you could open your mind up to other possibilities, you know, because if you can't substantiate a thing, then all you can have is your idea of what the thing is. You don't really know what it is. Contrast that with the ground that we live on, that we can measure, that we can test, that we can repeat, that we can put up to scientific scrutiny, that we could substantiate. So to make claims like an optical phenomenon can override the physical measurements that we have of the earth, to me, is fallacious in its reasoning.
Already seen a little bit of the ostracizing before they've even gone. So when Jeran simply said, hey guys, I think it's a good idea for us to go to Antarctica with the final experiment, they started calling him a shill. They started
see, that's a
him
gaslight right there. See, that's not true.
Yeah,
that's not true. We're calling Jeran out because of the things that he's saying, because he's buying into the false binary. That's just the gaslighting that Will Duffy is reinforcing, that Jiren is spewing on everybody. Nobody really has a problem with anybody going there. I have yet to talk to a person who wouldn't love to go down there and observe. We've always been saying we want to go to Antarctica and we want to observe, but we want to do it unfettered. Why here? Why in this desperate, you know, final experiment in this one place with these few people under this condition given by Will Duffy? So that to me is just a gaslight.
That's right. And this is why it's like consistently, like it's consistency with the truth, but it's also consistency with lies as well. These dudes never seem to fail when it comes to bullshitting people, man. And it's like, yo, like if you're of the globe, you have to call a strike a strike. You have to see this for what it is. Like you have to. But when these guys consistently show that they're that they're being deceitful or they're keeping the truth from you, and we have to demonstrate over and over again. How does that make you feel? Do you even consider this? And so not just you guys, but at large to the rest of the communities, right? Both the globe and the flat earth community. This is what we see all the time. And so it's us yelling back like, hey, show what he said about this. But nobody's going to see that. All they're going to see is Will Duffy, playing the good guy, the good pastor. Oh, it's the good pastor saying, oh, well, Jeran, he's actually reasonable, and all that other nonsense. And then all they're going to do is fall for it. So nah, man,
Right.
you can't buy that nonsense no more, y'all. Shit.
And then keep gaslighting and say, like, we're all afraid of this experiment. That's could be further from the truth, this so-called experiment.
All right.
I want everybody to think about it, okay? This man you see on the right, this Simon Dan, how he's following all these flat earthers. This is his livelihood, everybody. Notch and Vlad and myself, we're here doing this, and we have like other stuff in our life that we do, and we come on here and do this. And every other flat earther is the same way, besides maybe 2 or 3. You have at least 5 to 10 people who make a very good livelihood all day long breaking down this stuff. This is what they do. And some of the people that you mentioned, Vlad, that are following you around, you just brought up a bit ago, we can't discount the possibility that they're paid to come here and just be gaslighters and, rabble rousers and disrupt the community, make their comments. More and more, I'm seeing bots come up. In my 2 years here online, I've seen the increase in bots that even live, they even interact live in the chats, and they're leaving comments, and it's just to put things in people's mind. It's again, you just say, oh, you stupid flurf this, or don't you know this? And for people who are new to it, it's just enough to get them to question it, because it plays on it triggers their conditioning. And it basically appeals to their emotion. Again, all logical fallacies. So there's active subterfuge here, not just with these main anti-flat earthers, but with the algorithms, through the platforms, and in so many ways. So, and look at Duffy's face through this whole thing. Look at the face he has now. And he always has this wry, gotcha, called a duper's delight smile on his face, right? And I could say, and the amount of time that Duffy is spending on this, he's supposed to be this financial guy with a family, and he has a church, but he's, booking 2 hours with Notch, and here he is with Simon Dan, and he's on, like, I don't know, Arwin's channel. Much love, Arwin, but you know what I mean? Like, on these, like, relatively unknown small flat earth channels, he's spending all this time with this. Do you think a man like Will Duffy is going to invest this amount of time and energy without a payoff, and without a payoff that he already knows? You think he's gambling? No, somebody like Duffy knows what he's doing. This is a play. Okay, and anybody who's buying into this, you're just getting played by this charlatan, straight up. The ones that could see it can see it. Maybe some people are on the fence, and maybe some people need more time. And the rest of you're going to be Globers after this.
That's right. And you want to know something? This is something, because I interviewed Will a few months back, and one of the things that I asked him was like, hey, Will, so why are you doing this? And then he's like, out of the kindness of my heart. And I said, wait a minute. I said, nobody with that much money does anything out of the kindness of their heart. I said, either you're going to get paid or there's something that's waiting for you on the back end. What is it? He's like, oh, no. Out of the kindness of my heart, I'm doing this. And I just sat there, mouth twisted like a mug. I'm just like, really? Okay. I'm going to believe that. And then how he gets his pastorship and everything else, as if it was passed down to him like it was Excalibur or something like that. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's obviously not true. These are a bunch of untruths, but we'll give him a chance. And I said, hey, you know what? I don't know if this is true or not true, but we'll let time dictate. Now it's starting to turn out that a lot of what he said is not what he actually said the first few times. You know what I'm saying? A lot of what he said is starting to come back to bite him in the ass. His stories keep changing.
Yeah, and Notch knows better than anybody that fact. This idea that he's been shown consistently to be dishonest. The biggest one for me, Notchiketa, was when you pointed out that he claimed that he had never heard of Flat Earth until 2021, August of 2021, from one of his parishioners when they brought it up. But in reality, he has very close ties with Bob Enyart.
Bob Onion, yeah.
Yeah, that go back many, many, many years to a radio show, the Real Science radio show, where they actively were trying to basically discredit the flat earth in 2018, 3 years prior to the date that Will Duffy said he first ever even heard that there was flat earthers. So he obviously lied right there. So right there from the jump, he's suspect. And I've watched him on multiple interviews, and depending on his audience and the interviewer, he has a different story. You see him sitting there again like a pig in shit with Simon Dan, talking about how the dumb flurfs are going to look stupid in a couple months. But when he's on a flurf channel, it's like Vlad said, I just want to just know what the truth is because I'm not sure, and I want to know what the truth is. And you flat earthers said this will be the definitive quote unquote experiment. You've all said this. Quote, so again, he'll basically just generalize us all because a few prominent gatekeepers years ago told us there was no 24-hour sun and that would be the debunk and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So he latched onto that and he keeps presenting that. So he's been inconsistent this entire time. So he's already shown himself to be untrustworthy. And it's like anything. It's like in people who study like law, okay, or the legal system or the lawful system. What you understand is once somebody has shown themselves to be a liar, they're discredited. So if you bring up a witness in a trial, if you show that they've lied, their testimony has to go out the window. You know, there's a Latin saying, falsus in unum is falsus in omnibus, which means if you're false in one thing, you have to be considered to be false in all things. So once he's shown himself to be a dishonest liar, how could anybody buy into this false binary experiment unless they had some other interest to do so, whether it's financial or otherwise? Plain and simple.
Like in his position, Will Duffy's position, like he already has everybody locked in. You know, he's got the final experiment. A lot of people are all hyped up about it. The final experiment is already, you know, the tickets are bought. You know, we have the 3 contestants already going. So, I mean, like, maybe he's in a position like, who gives a fuck what you or I or anybody here says about it? Because like, come December and everything rolling out, you're gonna get Netflix and the mainstream media, Fox, CNN, everybody else get involved. We get completely landslided over. Like nobody will know who we are. Nobody will care about who we are. We've been like, you know, chirping in the background, but then the, you know, highlighted thing is going to be these institutions, these, you know, agencies, and who cares about us? You know, so
yeah, and I wanted to bring another thing up regarding Will Duffy is, you know, he claims that he wants to be objective with this, but in reality, he can't steelman any of our flat earth arguments, which shows he's done no research into our side. He just heard that flat earthers existed, decided that it was just insane or whatever his agenda is, and set out to basically destroy it. Now, whether he's supported, like I think he is in some ways or otherwise, I have no proof. I think he's not acting alone. I think he has a full organization behind him, you know, because these pastors, they're not just pastors. They're always involved in these brotherhoods and these societies. We can go on and on about that. So I think he's being supported. Again, his close connections with Bob Enyart, who has been actively working to discredit the flat earth for, you know, again, since 2018 that we know of, that we have evidence of. So again, he can't come and he can't explain what, you know, maybe our argument would be for like a setting sun. He can't explain, you know, why we hold the understandings that we do. And we have, you know, this so-called belief of this level horizontal earth. He has no idea. He can't do that. So right there, again, like just that basic example shows his bias, obvious bias. But he tries to present this, again, when he's in front of certain audience, as he's, like you said, just trying to help do the right thing, do the thing that's good, because he just wants to know the truth. He's just in it for the truth. You know, he's basically obscuring and occulting his obvious agenda. And I think the flat earth community, a lot of people are very nice. People tend to project their own internal space out to the world, and they wouldn't do this to people. They wouldn't gaslight people. They wouldn't exploit people, manipulate people. But there's people on this earth that have no problem doing that, especially if they're going to benefit. So they'll give people the benefit of the doubt. It's like what they're doing with Jiren, to the point that's beyond reasonable, where they're giving people the benefit of the doubt where there obviously shouldn't be. And it's the same thing with Jiren, same thing with Will Duffy. And again, I'll land the plane on this. It's an energy thing. So right now, there's a resonance on one side and there's a resonance on the other side. If you can't see the side that Jiren is in league with, you are either not paying attention or you just don't want to see it because you're emotionally connected to the community or the man or for what other reason. And that's why I think it's so important for other prominent people in the community to speak up. And I'm not going to blow certain names out, but I know Nachiketa and I have been in communication, and there are certain prominent flat earthers who are choosing to stay out of this conversation right now because of their allegiance to Jiren or for whatever reason. And there's so many, not the ones just we mention all the time. Like, of course, Dave should be live every day talking about this. He's not, but there's other people in prominence who are stepping back, now whether they're, in some way, I don't know, threatened by losing maybe whatever financial windfall that they're getting from this or otherwise, but I don't know what their motive is. I don't even want to conjecture, but it's important for people to step up and speak on this because then it allows other people to do it. Okay. And it gives the opportunity for other voices to come forward, and then we can build momentum on our side, and we can start vibrating, and we can start building a resonance and a synchrony on our side, and we start putting the pieces together. Okay. And some people are going to think, because there's a lot of camps here. There's the camps that say, look, there's a 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and I've known that for years, and I'm still a flat earther. Great. There's other camps that are saying, I don't think that could exist, so maybe they'll fake something down there. Okay. Whatever your thought is regarding this, there's one inescapable fact, is that this is an obvious setup that is organized, and it's not what Will Duffy is presenting like he did to both Nachiketa and you and Vlad, that he's just wants to do what's best, wants to do what's right. There's an agenda here. That's whatever you think is going to go down in there. That's a fact. This is an agenda. This is a setup. This is an obvious hit piece. Okay. That to me is beyond dispute. There's nothing to dispute there. So people in the community, why not just talk about that? That's why I give Dave Weiss credit, because Dave Weiss knows this is a setup. He understands it, and the funny thing, and I said this before, I'll say it again. I hold Dave still in high esteem. Maybe I shouldn't, because a lot of people call Dave out as the number one shill in the community. I don't believe that about Dave. I'm actually in the other camp, but Dave needs to be a little bit stronger here. Dave needs to come out and say something a little more, and so many other people that I can call out right now, but I won't because of discretion. Yep. But he certainly has to at this point.
Yeah. And it's,
I know you're fucking listening, Dave. I know you're listening. You might not be listening now, but I know Dave listens to like us. It's not like, Dave listens to this shit. People tell him, Dave, what are you doing? How many times do I have to tell you, dude? You're going to just look like a clown to everybody? Like, okay, Dave, I don't think it's the shekels, Dave. Like, you made your shekels, but I believe that you believe the shit that you say about the earth. So what the fuck are you doing, Dave?
Nice app though, Dave.
I think the three of them will eventually admit it. It will take time. They'll go home. They'll process everything, and I can pretty much guarantee that Jeran will make a video sort of coming out as a globe earther at some point. I don't necessarily think he'll admit that we're moving and all of that, but he will say that the earth is spherical. I do think that. I'm not going to say I'm got everything crossed for you, because I know it's going to be fine. But I hope the trip is absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much for organising it. It really is a great idea. and I absolutely look forward to the fallout that's going to inevitably happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll keep you
Right.
updated
See,
for
he
sure.
knows.
Yeah, definitely. And I will
Exactly.
They know what the impact of this is going to be. They know this is going to be beyond these communities. You know, that's why I say, you know, this is an organized thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So this is like, oh, it's like you said, it's like, you know, they have like the swag ready to go. The hats are printed, you know, it's like the Super Bowl when they already have the hats printed up, you know, that they're ready to go with the whole thing. We just watched two Globies. One of them's like one of the most prominent anti-flat earthers on YouTube. Just basically say, yeah, Jeran's one of us now. Isn't that so cool? Isn't that awesome? Like,
Yeah.
And this is how we got here. And what we're supposed to sit here and not say anything and just
they're so
what? Like
positive.
watch this happen?
When I mention anybody's name, I don't do it lightly. I don't just want to go out there and mention this person or that person and call everybody a shill, because it actually loses the potency of what that word actually means. So I really want to call people out for what I believe they are actually doing. And when I call somebody a shill, I'm saying that they are doing this maybe consciously or unconsciously, but ultimately to hurt. It's going to hurt the truth and the movement in which that we represent. And that's why I am calling these people out. Other people who are unbeknownst to them, or they're conscious or unconscious of the people they're associated with. This is the canary in the coal mine, me yelling out to them, hey, look, be careful whom you are associating with, because it might come back and bite you in the ass. So I'm going to give you the warning now. I'll give you 2 warning shots across the bow, whatever it takes. But after a certain period, you know, I gave you all the warnings that I gave you. Like, now what? That's what it comes out to.
That's right. All bets are off at that point. And it's going to be a crappy position to be in. Like, which side, kind of like what Z said, man. What side do you want to be on at the end of the day? Like, think about now how everybody thinks this place is a globe, but that's starting to change, and it's changing in front of y'all's eyes. So pay close attention to that. And just like you said, Z, man, ain't no money in this. Ain't nobody making no money off of this. We still got to wake up and we got to make it happen every single day. So this is out of our passion for it, because there is a fellowship in here as well, but also we're of like minds, because this is something of a positive thing.
Because you should always be looking to falsify your belief systems. You know, and there's always going to be, in the end, it's always going to come down to a fundamental thing that you either have to accept or not. But you have to challenge, and you have to have the courage to embrace the unknown. So let's get back to Jiren. His mindset is, well, because he said this to me and many times other places, that if he can't know what the sky is, then he's basically just going to disregard the things that he does know about this earth, because he can't explain everything. And I said to him what I'm going to say here: who said that we need to know and be able to explain everything? How could you explain something that you can't substantiate, like the heavens? You can only observe and record and postulate and conceptualize. Okay. But you can't explain things. You can't prove things that are unsubstantial. All right. So does one have the courage to do that? Can you go in and say, you know, I don't really know what the sky's doing. I have an idea. Yeah, the sun seems to be circling around the AE map. It seems to be doing that. But here's some other data here that says, well, that might not be the whole story. So what are we missing? What other pieces do we have to look at? Okay. Yeah, that might be the closest explanation you can get that makes sense. But why should we then now accept that for de facto reality when it really can't be substantiated? Why do we need to do that? Are we so insecure that just because the world is giving you a bullshit answer about the heavens, about the eclipse, about what the sun and the moon and the stars are, doesn't mean that we have to then come up with some other bullshit answer? And again, that's illogical, because logically, you're under no burden to supply a new proof once you disprove something, okay? You know, you're under, there's no logical burden to replace something that's debunked. Just because I could debunk a thing that was told to you doesn't mean I need to tell you a new thing to replace it. That's not logically consistent. It doesn't work. Again, we'll go back to a court of law. If you make a claim against me, you have to prove that claim. Now, if I can disprove your claim, which I'm under no obligation to do, you're actually under the obligation to prove it. But if I could, if you say that I don't know, killed the butler in the billiard room with the candlestick, well, if I can show you, I wasn't even in the building. I was hanging out. I was watching a movie. I have an alibi. So there you go. I just debunked your claim. I don't have to then go tell you who killed the butler in the billiard room with the candlestick. That's not my burden. I never made the claim. You made the claim. So you made the claim, or you support a claim that we live in a heliocentric, reality, one in which we are rotating and orbiting around the sun. That's your claim. That's not my claim. So you need to prove it. And once you present your evidence and I debunk it, I'm under no obligation to then tell you what the sky is, what the sun is actually doing. That's logically inconsistent. And it's actually insane to think otherwise. But we've been conditioned now, like you said in the very beginning of this whole stream, is that we're in this thing where like we have all the answers. Oh, we know what black holes are, and we know what space is doing, and we know what the force is, and we know what so-called gravity is. And we have all these answers. So, okay, if you're telling me it's not that, then what is it, smarty pants? It's not the way it works. I can tell you that gravity doesn't exist because it can't be substantiated. If you're telling me that gravity is the bending and warping of space-time, and I tell you that space and time are abstractions and concepts, so how can you prove something that's a concept? How could I test a concept and an abstraction? How could I measure it? If I can't measure it, if I can't test it, if I can't even observe it, if it can't be demonstrated, then how could you say it's a real thing? Plain and simple. All right. Now, I have my theories on what that phenomena is, and they're mine, and I've talked about them. But the reality is, if we can debunk their presentation, we're under no obligation to give you a new presentation, because it could be anything. They called it the heavens for a reason. The heavens give it a concept of the spiritual, of the godly. That's where God lived in all the major, religions that were presented to us. Say what you want about them, okay? The heavens were for God. They weren't for man. And even in the Old Testament Bible, the so-called Luciferian, the fallen dream, was to basically usurp the throne of God in the heavens. Well, what are we doing? We're supposedly blasting things up in the sky, and we're sending people to planets and the moon and space stations and things. Well, we were told the heavens are for God. So why do we have to give an earthly concept to these celestial bodies? We really don't know what they are. Look, the moon appears to be physical. It appears to have shadows in the craters. It appears to look spherical. Not all the time. Sometimes it doesn't. But that doesn't mean what I'm seeing is what it is, because optical things cannot be substantiated. Many things appear to be something that they are not. That's one thing that we can know about optics. A thing may not be what it looks like. And to make that one-to-one correlation, again, is fallacious. So, and for people who, maybe are new to this topic or don't know the details, the reality is what the heavens are doing doesn't match up on a flat earth or a globe. Okay? It doesn't work. It's not as simple. So just because they presented you, just because the gatekeepers for the last 9 years have presented you with an AE map and a sun and the moon and stars that circle around, just because they presented you a very simplistic model, it doesn't hold up. It's way more complex. The most basic thing for anybody paying attention, is that the heavenly bodies cannot be triangulated, whether it's a flat earth or a globe. You can't triangulate the sun from multiple locations. You can't triangulate the moon from multiple locations, from a globe or a flat earth. You have to understand these. There is not a linear relationship between the way we see the various celestial bodies from multiple diverse locations around the earth. That's a fact. The celestial data proves it. All right. Now, this has been gone over many times by multiple people. Unfortunately, your flat earth gatekeepers have kept this information from you because they're benefiting from their presentation. All right. But that's the way it is. The heavens are doing things that we cannot understand at this point. It doesn't mean we have to stop looking. And it doesn't mean that if people have different opinions, that they're our enemies somehow. It's just an understanding of the sky, which is optical, versus the ground, which is physical, which can be substantiated. And anybody who's going to claim that they know what the sun does is probably somebody who you shouldn't be really giving too much attention to.